Welcome back to a warm embrace, a soft place for the hard parts of being human. Today we're talking about focus, and more specifically, the belief that focus is something you should be able to force, if only you were disciplined enough. For a long time I thought I had a discipline problem, that if I just tried harder, planned better, followed the right routine, I'd finally be able to focus the way everyone else seemed to. But what I eventually realized was that it wasn't a discipline problem at all. It was a process problem. I was trying to fit myself into systems that weren't built for me, instead of building something that worked with the way my mind actually functions. And that shift changed everything. If focus has ever felt like punishment instead of support, this episode is for you. We're often taught that focus looks a very specific way: quiet, still, linear. Sit down, block everything out, and concentrate. But when your mind doesn't work like that, trying to squeeze your focus into that box can feel unbearable. It's like pouring water into a container that's too small. It doesn't disappear, it spills. And then we blame the water for making the mess, instead of noticing that the container was never right to begin with. When we try to fit our focus into structures that weren't designed for us, it doesn't mean we're incapable. It means our capacity is being misread. Sometimes our capacity simply doesn't allow us to follow the same processes as other people. And that doesn't mean we're lazy, or unmotivated, or lacking discipline. Capacity changes daily, hourly, depending on sleep, mental load, emotional weight, sensory input, life. For a long time, I judged myself for not being able to focus the way others did. I berated myself for needing things to feel a certain way, for needing movement, sound, stimulation, comfort. But forcing myself to focus in ways that didn't suit me didn't improve my focus. It shut it down. Forcing focus can feel like punishment to a mind that's already trying its best. There's a quiet resistance that builds when we demand focus instead of creating the conditions for it. Rules stack up, expectations tighten, pressure creeps in, and suddenly, the very thing we're trying to access feels further away than ever. Sometimes our mind doesn't need more rules to follow. It needs a safe space to expand. Focus doesn't always come from control. Sometimes it comes from permission. One of the biggest shifts for me was learning to stop asking, why can't I focus like that? And start asking, what helps me focus? For me, something as simple as a playlist changed everything. Music gave my ADHD brain something steady to hold on to. It softened the noise. It created rhythm. It helped me drop into the zone instead of fighting my way there. It wasn't discipline. It was support. And once I stopped judging myself for needing that support, my focus stopped feeling fragile. Let's pause here for a moment. Think about the last time you tried to focus and couldn't. Not what you were doing, but how you were treating yourself. Were you tense? Critical? Trying to force something into place? Now imagine approaching your focus with curiosity instead of pressure. What does your mind actually respond to? Sound, stillness, movement, structure, freedom? There's no right answer here. There's only your answer. Here's something important to know. Focus lives in the nervous system. If your system doesn't feel safe, your mind won't settle, no matter how much discipline you apply. Rigid structures can feel regulating for some. For others, they feel constricting. When your nervous system is overwhelmed, forcing focus can increase stress instead of clarity. But when your system feels supported, when there's enough space, stimulation, and safety, focus often arrives naturally. Not because you forced it, but because you made room for it. Removing the expectation that focus is universal lifts an enormous weight. You don't have to focus the same way as everyone else to be capable, intelligent, or effective. When you stop trying to discipline yourself into someone else's system, you free up energy to build something that actually works for you. And often, what you're capable of accomplishing when you work with yourself is far greater than what you could ever force through pressure. I want to leave you with a gentle question. If focus didn't have to look a certain way, what would it look like for you? What would happen if you treated your attention with kindness instead of control? If someone you loved was struggling to focus, how would you support them? Take a breath and offer that same understanding to yourself. Focus doesn't come from discipline. It grows where there is space. Thank you for listening to A Warm Embrace. Take what lands, leave what doesn't, and be kind to yourself today. I'll see you next week.